Today we're joined by novelist extraordinaire Richard Storry. Before embarking on his first novel, The Cryptic Lines, Richard had long cherished the idea of wanting to write fiction, ever since attending a literature event with Leon Garfield and winning first prize in its short story competition. Having already been adapted for the stage, The Cryptic Lines has been described as Dan Brown meets Agatha Christie, and as the plot weaves through its many twists and turns, we follow the main characters as they race against the clock to solve enigmatic puzzles in the many dark corners of the ancient manor house Heston Grange. And now the author asks, dare you enter this crumbling mansion with all its secrets? The adventure awaits. But there's more. Richard has now added another 3 novels to his collection, plus the first 4 volumes in the new Ruritanian Saga. All his books are available in print, as well as for Kindle and in audio format. Hello, Richard. Thank you so much. Hi. Thank you so much for being our first male author and for taking time out of your busy writing schedule to join us. It's a pleasure and an honour to chat with you.
The pleasure is mine.
I've listened to A Looming of Vultures, your first book in the Ruritanian Rogue series, and I absolutely loved it. I can't wait to read or listen to the others too, as well as your other novels. But before we get to your books, I was fascinated to learn that you are also a prominent musician. Would you tell us a little bit about your musical career and how you went from that to writing these wonderful novels? Did your music influence your writing in any way?
Well, it did, but it wasn't in a way that I was consciously aware of to begin with. I trained as a classical guitarist at the Royal Academy of Music for 5 years, from 1984 to 89, going back a way now. And subsequent to that, I was a member of a guitar quartet. We played in many different venues all over the country and indeed all over the world. We released CDs and did all the usual thing. And also I did a lot of music teaching and also music examining, which I still do to this day. So when you hear someone say, oh, I'm taking my piano grade 2 exam next week, well, I'm the bad-tempered fellow who sits behind the desk and writes marks and decides if they pass or fail. A bit like Simon Cowell, but I think I'm a bit nicer than he is. Anyway, so one of my books, the second one actually, which is called Order of Merit, I've drawn heavily on my exam experience and my experience as a concert musician as the background for that particular story. So I'm able to describe in some detail the various concert venues and the exam centre itself, which gives a certain authenticity to the story, I think.
That's wonderful. I can't wait to read it. I'm assuming Ruritania is entirely fictional. Or is it?
Well, that's a very good question. It doesn't occupy any geographical area. Ruritania was originally created by an author called Anthony Hope when he wrote a story called The Prisoner of Zenda, which is a very famous story which has been turned into a movie. And since he invented this place, other authors have set their own stories in that same mythical realm.
Right.
And mine actually suggested to me, he said, why don't you write something that is set in Ruritania, because then you can do whatever you like, because it doesn't really exist. You're not bound by any actual hard, definite places. And so all we know is it's supposed to be somewhere in the centre of Europe. No one knows exactly where, but somewhere in the centre of Europe. Now, when I began to write this and then do a little bit of research, I discovered that actually there is what they call a micronation of Ruritania.
Right.
A micronation, yes, a micronation is one which doesn't have any geographical area as such, but it does have citizens. And it's of the same kind of ilk as when you hear about people who go to Star Trek conferences and they get dressed up in all the gear and all of that kind of thing. And so there really is a Queen of Ruritania who you can write to, and we contacted each other. And when I said to her, I'm starting to write these books about Ruritania. Why don't you make me author laureate or something like that? and she replied and said, well, it's very kind of you to write all these books about Ruritania, but you can't be author laureate because that title has already been given out to someone, but you could be a baron if you liked.
Oh,
so I
wow.
said, oh. So now, yes, I am a baron of Ruritania. But even more interesting is I found out that there's not just Ruritania. That's not the only one. There are other micronations that exist as well.
Right.
And in fact, at the end of each volume in the series, I include a note from the author that invites people to suggest things that might possibly happen in future volumes or events that might happen to certain characters. Anyway, in response to that note, someone did contact me and said, well, actually, I'm not a citizen of Ruritania, but I'm the Emperor King of another micronation called Ruthenia.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
he said, I would love it if I could come on a state visit to Ruritania and appear in one of your books. And then he said, if I could be the victim of an assassination attempt, that'd be even more exciting. So he does. He appears. Volume 5, which isn't published yet, but which I've recently finished and will be published very soon.
That's
that's
amazing.
where he appears. Yes, King Oscar of Carnia Ruthenia. He'll be there.
That's brilliant. Oh, my Lord. How fantastic. When do you propose to publish that book?
It's imminent, actually, because we're just in the very last stages of sorting out all the internal layout. But, I mean, I know that people listening they're just listening on audio, but I can hold up for you, Angelina.
Oh,
you can get to be one of the very first people to see the cover. There it is.
And it is fantastic and very alluring, and I can't wait to read it. Wow.
Volume 5, Hoard of Treasures.
I'm
Anyway,
honoured.
that'll be coming out very soon.
Thank you. That's fantastic. So do I refer now to you as Baron Storry from now on?
Well, technically, the title is Baron von Schreckenkost.
Ah, it gets even more interesting.
And even more so because I actually rather cheekily wrote myself into one of the books at one point, just as a little kind of cameo appearance.
I love that.
Well, I thought, was it a bit corny? But then I thought, well, if Alfred Hitchcock can appear in his own movies, that sets ample precedent for me to appear in my own books. That's what I thought.
Brilliant. But if your books do get made into movies, would you then appear in the movie?
I'd be very happy to speak to the director on that very topic. If Steven Spielberg is listening, please ask him to give me a call.
We definitely will do that. We will pass that along, definitely. It's wonderful. I love it, Richard. Well, the characters in this first book, Rudolph and Wilhelm, just leapt off the page for me. And in fact, they reminded me somewhat of Jeeves and Wooster, a British comedy drama from the 90s. How did you unearth your two characters?
Well, now this is a very interesting question because with all my previous books, there were elements in them where I did draw on people who I had met and that kind of thing. And one or two people even asked me whether, is that me you're talking about in your book there? And I didn't ever kind of use anyone specifically like that. However, with the Ruritanian saga, there isn't really any, at least not that I'm aware of, any particular person or event that I've drawn upon for this. It's all come straight out of my overactive mind. Now, since having published it, someone did point out to me that it does have a striking resemblance, not to Jeeves and Wooster, as you have just suggested, although I see why you've said that, but there was, back in the 1970s, I think it was, there was a TV series called Raffles, where the title character was an upper-class thief. And Baron Rudolph also is an upper-class thief. But this fellow Raffles, who was like a Victorian English gentleman, and he had a butler who was like his helper and confidant. And there is, I suppose, a similarity there. But it wasn't a conscious decision that I made. It was all just drawn out of the depths of my peculiar mind.
Well, wherever it came from, they are brilliant. Very engaging 3D characters. I mean, your description of Rudy's thieving escapades had me on the edge of my seat. You have a real gift for creating suspense. He's such a rogue, but you can't help falling in love with him, can you? Is he based on anyone you know? I know we've kind of talked about that, but perhaps yourself without the thieving, of course.
Well, I'm not sure that I'm the person best qualified to answer that question. Maybe I should ask you whether you think I'm like Baron Rudolph.
Oh, that's good. No, in fact, now that I've met you, even though it's only on Skype, no, I see him completely different than you. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, okay. So I've answered my own question.
I suppose, if anything at all, the nearest I can suggest is I think I probably see him as a kind of Scarlet Pimpernel type character.
It's funny you should say that, because that's what I thought.
Well, there you go. Yeah, kind of a fellow who likes to put out this rather nincompoop type persona, but actually behind the scenes he's a very calculating and conniving and scheming fellow. Yes.
Yes. And clever, very clever. I felt very sorry for Willie and how he believed Rudy each time he promised, sort of, that he wasn't going to steal again. But I loved how consistent Rudy was in his inconsistency. Although Willie was Rudy's servant, he clearly loved Rudy and was loyal to him, not only because he was Willie's master, right?
Yes,
There was something else?
Yes. Now, this is an interesting point, too, because a couple of years ago I was working in Sri Lanka for a while, and I was invited out to dinner to someone's house where they had servants.
Right.
And basically, whenever the servants weren't in the room, after that they brought in the dinner and then, of course, they withdrew, then the lady of the house began to confide in me that how disappointed she was with the calibre of servants these days and how they didn't compare at all to how good servants used to be in the old days. And she even went so far as to say that back in the old days, she just knows that had it come to it, that the servants she had then would have laid down their lives for their masters if the situation had desired it. But she said, oh, that wouldn't happen now. There's no chance of that now. With people I've got. But that did stay with me. And so when I was writing this, it did occur to me that Wilhelm, I mean, yes, definitely, it's a master and servant relationship. But I think Wilhelm does see part of his duty, although it's never specified as such, a part of his role is to keep his master on the straight and narrow if he spots him doing something that he thinks might be detrimental. And actually, when I first started writing around all of that theme, I never dreamed that it would have so much mileage in it, because it's still going strong in Volume 5, and Volume 6, which I've just begun, it'll still be there as well.
That's fantastic. That's what you call a relationship, don't you? It's kind of like a romance, but it's not.
Yes, I suppose the modern word for it is a romance, isn't it? But it's definitely not. There's no romantic attachment. He's just being very cheerful and loyal. And
yeah. Well, with such a complicated story that involved the plotted assassination of the king, I'm guessing you must outline your novels quite a bit in detail, right?
Yes and no. There are some parts of the story that you kind of put in place, like big building blocks, as it were, but then all the cement that goes in between that holds them together, a lot of that just comes as you sit there and get on with it. And there are certain days, I suppose, that any writer will feel the same, when you just feel like you have no inspiration whatsoever and you don't know what to write. But often on those days, if you just sit down and start anyway, you'd be surprised what begins to emerge just out of the act of actually doing it. And then there comes a point where it starts to carry its own weight, and it's very nice when that happens. So at the beginning there's nothing there, but little by little something starts to emerge, and by the end of the day, good gracious, there is something there that wasn't there before, and it's a nice sense of achievement.
I just imagine that you must be doing lots of book outlines because it's so complicated, but it gives us all hope, I think. That anything's possible.
I was reading a book by Stephen King, which is not one of his fiction items, but it's called On Writing, where he just talks about his memoirs of the craft.
Right.
And he doesn't map out his books. He just likes to just tell the story, and sometimes that means he really paints himself into a corner, which means he has to be even more ingenious to get himself out of it. And there have been moments like that. Each one of the Ruritanian volumes finishes on a kind of cliffhanger. Right. And the one at the end of Volume 5 that I've just finished now, I'm at this moment, I haven't got a clue how I'm going to get out of this one. It really is a tough cookie. But we'll see. We'll see. I've done it before, and I'm hopeful that I can do it again.
I love it. I really can't wait to read it now. Do I have to read them all in succession in order to be able to follow the story, or can I now go directly to the 5th volume from the first book?
Well, to a degree, each one is sort of prepared in the previous one. So there is an element of linear progression. You could read them, out of order, but why would you want to do that?
Exactly. No, you don't. I'm just curious now, you see. Curiosity. Well, I love being able to listen to your novel. Jake Urry's voice was perfect for the story. Could you tell us a little about the audiobook process? I mean, how did you choose the wonderful Jake Urry to narrate the novel, and how easy was it to create an audiobook?
Well, as far how easy it is to create it, you need to ask Jake that, because he's the one who did the recording. But yes, in fact, he's done several of my books now, the first one being the Cryptic Lines, which you mentioned earlier. And when I first found out about the site, which is audible.co.uk or audible.com, what you do is you load an extract from your book on there, and then all the other people who are registered on there as readers can have a look at it and decide if they want to volunteer to do it. And he actually contacted me and said he'd like to be considered for this, and he sent a little kind of demo of him reading the extract I put there. Right. And as soon as I heard his very distinctive voice, I only had to hear the title to know that he was the man for the job, because it's so atmospheric. And curiously, his voice sounds about 3 decades older than he actually is. He's still quite a young fellow.
Oh, right.
He has this very old-sounding voice. It's quite extraordinary. And well, he's now done several of my books. And given that he approached me in the first instance, I then went back to him numerous times thereafter, and I keep pestering him to. Well, I've been very fortunate actually. He's done the first 3 of Ruritania now, and so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All very nice.
It's fantastic. So then he contacts you, you give him the script, and he records it.
That's right. And then after he's recorded it, I then listen to the whole thing and will come back to him if there are any corrections needed. Usually there aren't, but, in a 50,000 word book, there's probably going to be 1 or 2 little glitches. Right. And you say, in chapter 3, 2 minutes and 14 seconds, you missed out a the or something. And so he quickly goes back and does the corrections, and then once those are checked, you upload it all to the Audible site, and then about a week or so later it goes live. So it's very nice. Gosh,
it sounds very easy and pain-free.
Well, it is, and it's actually, I've been very pleasantly surprised to find, I just hadn't realised how popular audiobooks are, particularly in America, where the Cryptic Lines has really done very nicely. It seems that over there they love the idea about a rambling old English mystery set in a mansion in the middle of nowhere and read by a very English-sounding voice. Right. That's something that's terrific. But particularly with this site, audible.com or audible.co.uk, if anyone happens to be listening who has never tried an audiobook before, I can tell you now that if you sign up there, your first one is free. So you've got nothing to lose. Why don't you give it a go?
That's wonderful to know. Yes, that's what people should do. And they should choose one of yours.
Well, if they'd like to do that, I wouldn't stop them.
Yes, exactly. What is the most difficult part of your creative process, would you say?
I suppose it has to be how to start each one. Once I've got the idea, then I can knock it around and pull it about and add to it and subtract from it and do what I like. But until you've got that seed of the idea, you haven't got anything really. And so it's just coming up with the gist of the story and then how to actually start the story in a plausible way. That's the most difficult thing.
I can relate to that. So let me ask you, what does literary success look like to you?
Wow. Well, I suppose there are different levels of success, aren't there? I mean, on the one hand, of course, it would be wonderful to walk into Leicester Square to attend the Royal Gala performance of a movie version of one of my books. That would be an indication of success.
Of course.
But on the other hand, it does give me a little thrill when someone who I don't know, who I just happen to meet somewhere along the way, goes, "Oh yes, I've read one of your books." I mean, it's nice to know that they're I mean, recently we did a promotion on Volume 1, Looming Vultures, that we've been talking about.
Yes.
And in the 24 hours that the promotion was running, it was downloaded over 2,200 times. So somewhere out there on planet Earth, there are 2,200 Kindles that have got Looming of Vultures on it, and that kind of gives me a nice feeling inside.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. That's wonderful. Yes. I know what you mean, though. It is lovely. And also when you get emails from complete strangers telling you that they loved your books, isn't it? It's wonderful.
Well, and also the music examining that I do, I've actually had music exam candidates walk into the room to do a piano exam or a violin exam carrying a copy of my book and saying, I Googled you and found that you write these books and I bought one of them, would you sign it for me?
Oh, that's lovely.
I don't know whether they're intending to read it or whether they're just trying to sweet talk me into giving them a better exam result. But, you know.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. What is the most important thing you've learned as a result of your writing journey?
It's a very difficult one to just distill down into one thing, really. I suppose the best thing I can say is it's a little bit like, this is probably a rubbish description actually, but it's the male equivalent of giving birth.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the story is in you, but you haven't quite managed to get it down on paper yet, it's just like this burden that you've just somehow got to get out of there. And you manage finally to get it out, and you type it on the screen or you write it down. And it's such a relief to have done that. And it's like taking the last step and standing on top of Mount Everest, and you stand up there and you have this huge sense of achievement and satisfaction, which lasts for all of about 10 minutes. And then you start thinking, right, so now what then? And you immediately start thinking about your next chapter 1. I find myself wondering, will I ever get a break?
I know exactly what you mean. I don't have children. So I understand 100% what you mean when you say it's like giving birth. It literally is. It's as difficult as well. And sometimes I feel as painful as people describe it to be. It is not for the faint-hearted.
Indeed. In fact, I heard a very interesting quotation a few weeks ago from someone quite famous who I now can't remember who it was. But a well-known writer who said, I hate writing, but I love having written. And I can absolutely identify with that, because it's lovely seeing the pile of books that I've done gradually getting bigger. But sometimes the actual act of sitting there doing it can feel like you're chiseling the words out of solid rock sometimes. But in the end, bit by bit, you stick at it and the thing gradually completes.
Yes, it's true, isn't it? Have you ever written anything with the NaNoWriMo month?
No, I haven't. But I have entered a Reader's Digest competition where the brief was that you had to write an entire story in 100 words exactly.
Ooh, that's difficult.
The first one was a very, very sweet little tale about a woman just walking around the shops doing her weekly shopping, and I didn't ever hear anything back, so I can only assume I didn't win anything. But I kept hold of that story because I liked it very much, and it appeared in one of my books, which is the only comedy I've ever written, called The Virtual Lives of Godfrey Plunkett. And I managed to rework this 100-word story and slot it in there, and so that's worked out quite well.
That's a great title.
The other competition entry was again the 100-word thing, where I just decided I would try and write the 100 words where every word began with the same letter. And that was quite an interesting exercise.
I can imagine. You really like setting yourself some tasks, don't you?
I'm just a writing nerd, that's all.
I love it. It's brilliant. Richard, thank you. That concludes our interview for today. I am so delighted to have met you. Thank you so much. That was so interesting. And also, happy birthday for September the 8th.
You'll be pleased to know you're the very first person to wish me happy birthday this year.
That's wonderful. Richard, it's so lovely to meet you. I was looking forward so much to talking to you. Also because of the music connection, you know. I mean, okay, I'm not a musician. I'm a singer, or I was a singer. I don't sing anymore. But so we have the musical connection as well, which I thought was brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Richard. It's lovely to meet you. I hope we'll chat again in the future. Yep. All success for the future for all your books. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much indeed.
Take care. Bye. Bye.